Welcome back out to Metairie for the NewOrleans.Football show presented by PJ's Coffee. I'm Brooke Kirchhofer alongside Nick Underhill and Mike Triplett. Day 5, the pads came on. This is when the real evaluation starts, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was exciting to see them get back to real football action. We're coming to you from the mobile Better Call BADEAUX podcast studio. So if you need legal help, make sure you check them out. And as always, as Brooke said, we're presented by PJ's Coffee. They have locations all over the city. You don't have to look far. Just there, it's a hop, skip, and a jump away. So make sure you get the one. But if you do need to drive the one, go hit up our guy, Matt Bowers. He has car dealerships all over the Gulf South region, the best car dealer that you can find. And we vouch for what he does because he takes care of us. That's where we buy our cars. So go check out a PJ's and one of Bowers' vehicles. They got the best coffee, as we said, locations all over the city. So get there and start your day with them and maybe play our podcast alongside while you're sipping your coffee. And if you need legal help with any of the following: car wrecks, offshore injuries, 18-wheeler collisions, Maritime Jones Act, hurricane and storm claims, you better call BADEAUX at 504-323-7777 or 985-303-7777 for your free consultation and case review. And check out Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. That is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries blended in New Orleans. It is not for the thin skin. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. And get to an ideal market, home of the freshest produce in the city. They do a great job. In the community, they received a Peter J. Larkin Award from the National Grocers Association for outstanding community support. They always bring the best quality food products at the best prices. They are the home of the largest variety of Hispanic and international foods you will find in the state. A hot deli that surpasses many restaurants in the flavor of their authentic Hispanic dishes, and also the best place to cash checks, wire money, pay bills. They have a complete customer service department like no other. And we are proud to be sponsored by Moe's Original Barbecue. They have fantastic barbecue located right in Metairie. Moe's has your game day needs taken care of. Whether you're tailgating or watching the Black and Gold or LSU at home with friends, Moe's has you covered. Order pulled pork, wings, ribs, sides, and much, much more. Come in with the family for lunch and dinner, as our kids' meals will please the pickiest of eaters. Tailgating parties at home, lunch, and dinner. Moe's Barbecue will handle it all. Moe's Original Barbecue, 1101 North Causeway Boulevard, between 48th and 49th Street in Metairie. Call 504-407-3533 for your catering order today. 504-407-3533. Moe's Original Barbecue in Metairie.
For fast relief coffee.
Mike Hoss here. When the AC goes out and it's hot outside, every second counts. For over 40 years, Keefe's AC Heating and Electrical has helped thousands of families stay cool in the sizzling hot months. Keefe's Get You Cool in 3 hours or less guarantee is what our customers love the most on the North or South Shore. Call Keefe's. We'll get you cool in 3 hours or less guaranteed.
Keefe's Air Conditioning and Heating.
And now electrical.
For fast relief, call Keefe.
Check out Firehouse Subs, Veteran Boulevard location. Great people doing great things for the community. All right, let's get into the show.
Let's get into our lead topic presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. If you're in the market for an engagement ring, go check out their engagement salon. They have a beautiful collection that you aren't going to find anywhere else. All right, it was full attendance in practice today. They were outside for a smaller portion. It was an hour and 45 minutes, which in this heat, to me, probably seemed like a full practice with those guys out there. The pads came on for the first time. There was one injury. We did see Andrus Peat about 45 minutes into practice walk kind of gingerly over to the locker room. And I wouldn't say this was too concerning if it weren't that Trey Turner is now out for the season with an injury. We don't know the severity quite yet with Andrus Peat. Dennis Allen did say they do believe it's a quad strain. But given we're only, 5 practices in and you have 2 guards down right now?
Yeah, look, it's a bad injury, not just in that sense, but it's a bad injury for Andrus Peat. I think he's kind of fighting for his life right now. James Hurst is competing with him for that job. Me and Mike were talking about it after practice. It would be a surprise if James Hurst isn't kind of considered the favorite right now to win that job. And Pete took a pay cut this offseason. He comes into camp, he gets injured. It's just kind of been the ongoing story of his career. If it's not a major injury, he's going to come back out here. He's going to keep competing. But if you're talking about a guy that just can't afford that right now, just in terms of his career is standing on the roster, he's right near that top of that list.
Yeah, I mean, I like either of their chances to make the team as a backup because they have that left guard, left tackle versatility, which they've both been exploiting throughout camp. They take turns every other, couple of snaps, and then they rotate during the middle of drills, and they like that versatility, and that's how you become a sixth offensive lineman. But yeah, absolutely. If Andrus Peat is not the starting left guard for this team, and if injuries are a concern for him, he's a very expensive backup, and if you don't have availability and you don't come cheap.
Oh, we're looking at the bubble. You got him on the bubble?
Don't you think?
I mean, I hadn't considered it. I think if he got cut, that'd be kind of a surprise cut, but it's not like the most outrageous thing I've ever heard. I think it's
time. If he's missing time.
I think it's a valid. I think you're making a valid point. I mean, I hadn't thought about him in that term yet because he's just been around so long. He was a first round pick, but he took a pay cut. He's hurt. If he's not available, if he gets beat out for the job, I don't know. I mean, I think he's probably a really, really good backup. I think you want to try to keep him on the team, but if someone forces a case, I think it's definitely something that's possible. So yeah, I think it's a shrewd assessment, but I think it's a fair assessment.
It's as much about how they view James Hurst. I mean, that's been one of the eye-openers to me dating back to the last week of minicamp, and then the very first day of practice, it was Hurst ahead of Peat. That's not just lip service where they've said, we really gained trust in James Hurst as he started a lot of games for us over the last few years. They're backing it up by making him look like they got a beat at that position.
Yeah, to tease up our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a wide selection of handpicked barrel select bourbon, whiskey, and more. David A. asks, am I overreacting thinking offensive line is a huge concern? Ryan Ranchep is great. Eric McCoy is good. The rest are average at best. I don't know if that's a fair assessment. To me, it looks like our weakest O-line in several years. Carr needs to be protected to thrive. So many people assume Penning at left tackle, but I don't know. Wish we would have upgraded left tackle, and he brings up a lot of really good points. I will say credit to the Saints with adding depth. Coda Martin was out at practice today. He was a guard they signed. They went out and got Nick Saldiveri, who's another guard. So they're trying to make sure that there is added depth. But I think he's right in saying that the O-line is going to continue to be a huge concern until we see a healthy starting five out there.
Well, he's not overreacting because we've said all off season long that the offensive line is sort of like the house of cards that this team is going to get built on. We had a Jenga tower episode. It could have been called the offensive line episode. Right. If the starting five are healthy, I really like the offensive line, and I like the backups. I think Throckmorton has versatility. I think Peat or Hurst has versatility. I like that they drafted Nick Saldiveri. But he's not wrong to make that his biggest worry spot on the team because there are injury concerns with Penning, with Ruiz, with Ramczyk. I don't think that the Trey Turner injury, as unfortunate as it is, should shake anyone's confidence in the team. I mean, 10 days ago he wasn't on the team, and now he's still not on the team. But I don't think we were all saying if they don't go find a veteran backup right guard, what are they going to do? But if they do start losing one of the five starters, then he can panic.
Yeah. And we're still trying to figure out who is starting at that left guard position, too. Is it going to be James Hurst that wins the battle?
Yeah, no. Look, I think it's a fair point though to be concerned about. I mean, it is the Jenga block thing of the whole season, and we've talked about Penning a lot. We don't know anything about Penning, so I agree with Mike. It could be a good position, it could be a bad position. It's really the thing that's the most up in the air. So yeah, I'm with you. I agree with it. No notes. You nailed it. So we're riding with that.
Can people panic? It's still July as of this filming.
Yeah, they should panic.
Can you panic in July over the offensive line?
I mean, I'd be panicking a little bit. I mean, you got guys falling out from the position. I think it's a natural reaction. I'm not going to be the person that says calm down. It's going to be all good. I don't know if it's going to be all good. Yeah. So it's fair to be. I don't know if it's fair to panic, but it's fair to be looking at the, where is the panic button? Let me assimilate myself with this room and know where to go when I need to hit that panic button. I think it's fair to be looking at it.
I don't know if I agree with the portion of that question where he said he wishes they had tried to upgrade the left tackle position this offseason. In Penning, Hurst, Peat, that is the kind of depth that is okay for an NFL team, and Penning still has the chance to be really special. They did try to upgrade the left tackle position by trading for that extra draft pick and drafting Penning, but it's just a reminder of how much is on Penning. Now, if he wants to look at things through rose-colored glasses, the guys we were most concerned about were Penning and Ruiz, and so far they're on track. They're on a good track. Penning missed that one practice, kind of precautionary it seems like, but a lot rests on them being healthy.
Yeah, the way to upgrade left tackle is by coaching Penning, getting him on the field, getting him healthy, making sure that he stays there. He has a chance to be an extremely good NFL player, and I don't think that should be lost yet just because he's had some injuries. We haven't seen him on the field. His combination of size and speed could make him one of the better left tackles in the league. He just needs to play. So I think going out and trying to get a left tackle to upgrade Trevor Penning would have been a waste of resources. I would have frankly thought it was dumb to give up on somebody that quickly. You put a lot into getting this player, get him on the field and make it work.
Well, outside of that, it was a relatively positive day. There was just the one injury, and it didn't look too – he was able to walk off on his own power, and there wasn't much of a limp of him walking off. But, man, we saw one-on-ones back with the pads being put on. That's something that we have been looking for, which gets into our moment of the day presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Best and worst from fifth practice. Let's start with best.
Best moment of the day for me was Kiki Kute.
Yeah.
Kiki
Kuti.
Anyways, they were doing one-on-ones. Derek Carr took a shot to the end zone. Kiki made like an amazing adjustment against tight coverage. It was almost like a pinwheel type move to just kind of turn and catch the ball as you're going to the ground. Completed the catch. It was an amazing play. But the bigger theme throughout that was Derek Carr's deep passes throughout that whole entire session were beautiful. Like, they were on point. They were so catchable. The loft was perfect. The velocity was perfect. I thought he really, really shined today in that period.
You go second, Brooke, because I've got two here, and I thought somebody was going to steal one of them. No, I want you to, so that I can use the other one.
I have two that I was kind of like flirting with, because I think one is going to be – is your Jay Kaner touchdown throw on there?
So speaking of deep balls, Derek Carr, you make a great point, but Derek Carr didn't even throw the best deep ball of the day. Or the wowest deep ball of the day, so I'll let you have that one.
No, it was toward the end of 11-on-11 period, and we really watched the one-on-one. That was where we kind of got to see guys pop and flash. 7-on-7, there wasn't a ton that stuck out to me other than Jimmy Graham making his presence known against poor Troy Pride, who just happened to be in the way of this massive veteran tight end, and Jimmy just dropped his shoulder and went straight into him, knocked him back. They had a little two back-to-back words, a few here and there. If I'm Troy Pride, I'm probably keeping it tight-lipped. But hey, the pads are on. It's hot out here. It's going to get a little chirpy. I like seeing that in 7-on-7. But outside of the Jay Kaner touchdown throw, that was when I think all of us and even the crowd that was out there was like, wow. Yep. We've been seeing this rookie quarterback impress us, but to actually do it with somebody in your face, 11-on-11, you go deep to Rashid Shaheed, who he's going to handle the rest for you. I mean, he's a speedy guy, but to land the ball perfectly for Rashid Shaheed to get out and beat his man and make the catch, and I think it was the only touchdown of the day. I mean, it was really impressive.
I thought for sure you go with your guy, Manny Mahomes, but hey, you surprised me with your pick.
Well, I was actually going to mention the Traquan Smith diving catch against Marshon Lattimore, because Marshon Lattimore is not letting anybody like have gimme catches, and Traquan laid out, and I think that was the only time Marshon got beat. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but you give me your best moment.
Well, yeah, you ended up stealing both of them anyway.
Oh, no!
I was like, should I go with Hainer Shaheed or should I go with Jimmy Graham, Troy Pride Jr.? I'll add details to both.
Yeah, let's do it.
Here's what I loved on the Hainer pass to Shaheed. And look, Hainer has continued to impress us every day and deserves the credit. Actually, one of my star plays of the day was Hainer throwing that little touch pass to Rashid Shaheed earlier that was just so smooth after he had gotten moved off his spot on the pocket. So Hainer has really looked good, but I really liked Shaheed on that play. He did something that I'm sure you see all the time, but it was just so evident. He really set up the DB by cheating inside, like it was going to be sort of an underthrown back shoulder ball, and he sucked the defender in, and then Shaheed just shot back out, so he just was like had created two yards of separation, caught it right in stride. It was a really smooth move for him. But yeah, I love that Jimmy Graham, and I said this on Twitter. Dennis Allen's comment about Jimmy Graham the other day was, he goes, I know I'm stealing this line from Sean Payton, who stole it from Bill Parcells, but with a guy like that, I don't need to see it every day, but I need to see it. Mm-hmm. And that was like, oh, that's why you bring Jimmy Graham, because if he does catch the ball in open space, it was an easy catch. He was wide open. A defensive back is about to get mowed over, and then Jimmy was feeling it afterward too, because he was like happy to keep talking about it afterward, as he pointed out.
Can we talk about Hainer though? Like, Hainer's balling. Like, they've brought in a lot of developmental.
Has there been one play where you've had to like think twice about it and be like, ooh, what's going on there? Because I haven't.
No,
I haven't
mean,
seen one thing from him that's made me question his ability.
Everything that I've like when I've thought twice about him, it's like, did he actually do that? And you the play you pointed out a couple of days ago where he was rolling out and hit the pass on the move, that was kind of one where it was like,
it's like the mini Pat Mahomes, and I know people are probably like, I cannot believe you just put his name with it. Look, relax, the mini Pat Mahomes, but he has done things
the ability,
that is
talent,
surprising.
size, all the mini. Yeah, but
Stop. No, I mean, but he's been really impressive,
No,
and he's
he
somebody
has.
now with the new NFL rule that they're going to be able to make sure other teams can't poach him. Who knows what happens in a couple years with this guy?
No, I think if you run down the list of developmental guys they brought in here, Garrett Grayson, Tommy Stevens,
Ian Book,
Taysom Hill just straight up as quarterback, I think the first week of
Yeah.
practice with this guy has been more impressive. Now, I'm not coronating him anything, but I think if you're looking at a starting point, and look, I'm someone that kind of believes if quarterbacks, you see it. Like, you kind of see it right away. And if your first impression of someone is kind of like, ugh, like, I don't know, the odds of them figuring it out is tough. Like, either you can read a defense and throw a good ball or you can't. And
Yeah.
there's a lot you can add on to that, but you need that starting point. Jake is showing that, and he isn't out here like, oh, well, that was a rookie moment. Like, he's making plays. He's completing passes. He looks comfortable. I think he's incredibly confident, and I think it just shows in the way he's playing right now. We'll see how he does in the preseason, but I like the pick. I think if you're looking at him like, can he be a cost-controlled backup or something? Like, I think there's definitely upside to that at least.
I'll keep going with the list. I'm thinking of him as you're saying that. Chase Daniel, Tyler Palco, guys who went on to play in the league. Ryan Griffin, who's still a backup with Tampa Bay. I'm not sure I saw anyone have it feel like it clicked as quickly. It doesn't mean his ceiling is as high as everyone who's ever come through here, but we've especially written about how the verbiage that they use in this offense can be really complicated. And, I mean, Garrett Grayson was overwhelmed by it, frankly, and like the subtle +2, -2, things, not just knowing the playbook, but knowing the nuances that go with each play. And that's what everyone said. His intelligence, his grasp, his confidence, he feels really comfortable. And yeah, you said, was there one play? Every time I've written down Haener, it's been a different style throw. This, like I said, I love the touch pass. You mentioned the moving outside of the pocket, shows off the deep ball. He had one the other day where it looked like the progression was going to go from right to left, but it was almost like he caught out of the corner of his eye that there was a breakdown in coverage, and he just whips over and threw that like line drive because he was like, that guy's wide open on the left side of the field, and he got it to him right away. So I've liked everything I've seen from him this week. Now, we do have to remember the second to last mini-camp practice, he threw a really bad interception to Alontae Taylor, but everything he's done in this week of training camp has been really impressive.
I would be worried too if I didn't see some of that. As a rookie, you need to try and go for some of these plays. Like, it's okay to make mistakes here now, because I think he's trying to still like figure out who he is as a quarterback. I think a lot of the confidence and a lot of the reason why he's been so good early on is because of that early mentorship with not just Drew Brees, who was already going through the playbook with him over the phone and going through some of the film when the guys met in California. I believe that was back in February. Derek Carr has also been mentoring him too, and I think a lot of that plays into it. All right, we gave a lot of bests. Give us your worst.
Worst moment of the day or the week?
The day.
Worst moment of the day.
Pop in while Nick's thinking here. Nick hates worst moment. He's too excited to be back to work, watching practice every day. This is I feel bad signaling someone out because we're not reviewing tape at the end of the night. And for all I know, he's got 80 good plays and 5 bad ones. But every time I've decided to focus in on Isaiah Foskey in particular today with the pads on, I watched him during the 9-on-7 run drill. I watched him during team drills. I feel like he's had a hard time getting going, and he's mostly been going against second and third string left tackles. I've yet to see him really find a move that's worked for him. Now, one day in pads, obviously reserving judgment, but look, we like looking at the young guys. I spent a lot of time trying to watch Brzee, Turner, Foskey, and he's one guy that I just haven't seen get going yet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my worst, Lynn Bowden's having some trouble catching punts, passes, everything, so I guess that's kind of the worst moment. But look, as we come out of these practices, in previous years, like, my practice notes were often kind of like searching for good things to say, and there was a lot of bad things to say. I like the team, and I'm scared how much I like the team right now after 5 practices. So, I mean, there's not a lot to single out as terrible. I think a lot of stuff is trending the right direction, and I kind of think the team's good. Like, I really believe it. Like, it's kind of like, you're controlling that aspect of it because you don't want to hype too much. But I really think they have a good football team right now.
You've had a lot of positive things to say about the run game, too.
The run game looks – look, I think Kendrick Miller's a baller, like, just straight up. And, like, every time he touches the ball, you notice his speed, his burst. He had a run today in team drills where they gave him – it was an inside handoff, and he had a quick move and was just taking off up the middle of the field. He had standout moments in – Mike pointed out in the 9-on-7. He's caught the ball well. I think that he's going to be a good football player. You had a great observation. I don't want to take it from you, just about the mentorship from Alvin, which I think is huge as well.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. But first, my worst moment. And I don't want to say it's the worst of the day, but it's something that you and I have talked about, and we've been tracking it. Another drop for Juwan Johnson. This is a guy who is now in a crowded tight end room. You've got the veteran Jimmy Graham coming back, who is most likely going to be like your red zone and third down tight end. But Foster Moreau looks great in camp. Taysom Hill is going to have some type of a tight end role. Look, for me, we talked about Juwan Johnson, that he has solidified that tight end 1 role up to this point before camp. I think that might be up for grabs at this point if he doesn't start completing some, and they're not, these outlandish passes. I mean, they're in his hands.
Yep.
That he's had a few drops. So, I mean, I know he's got the new baby. So, like, I don't know if he's, like, not getting a lot of sleep at night or what's going on there. So I'll give the new dad some credit. But if I'm Juwan Johnson, I'm like, all right, I got to pick it up at some point. And we're at the 5th practice. He still has time to kind of turn it around. And I think he's shown enough over the last couple of years with the Saints that these couple drops are not going to be detrimental, but they can't continue.
Yeah, look, I think some of our offseason hype guys, there's been some inconsistencies across the board with them. Rashid Shaheed, I thought, has had some inconsistent moments, completing catches, going to the ground. That's something that he needs to do a little bit better. I'm not concerned about it, but it's something I noticed. And I think Alontae Taylor it's if I had to handicap it right now, I have a Debo starting week 1.
Yeah, what's going on with Alontae Taylor? Let's go ahead and break that down.
I mean, I just think Debo's off to a great start at camp, and Taylor's not, I wouldn't say he's playing bad. I just think Debo's ahead of him right now, and I think he just needs to tighten up. I think his coverage needs to be just, I think everything just needs to lock in a little bit more. We get into the games, we'll see how that goes. I mean, there's another level with him, of course, and some of the stuff we see with the Debo, it's hard to know, fact or fiction, just given that he is such a physical player. He could be crossing the line at times, and I think that's part of the reason we always think he's so great out here, because there's not necessarily people throwing flags on every single play.
Right.
So we got to see how real it is, but if I had to pick one right now, I got a Debo starting on the outside week 1.
What about you, Mike?
Well, what I was going to say about Alontae Taylor is, for better and for worse, I think he's going to look a lot better when he's allowed to tackle people. I mean, there's nothing he loves to do more than make that big hit. That's where the infectious, contagious energy comes from. That's where he really became a fan favorite last year. But that's also where he admitted, sometimes he over-pursued. He took too many gambles or whatever. He needs to prove he can do the every down consistent stuff, and this is the time to be working on that. So I think it's fair to want to see more consistency in these early practices, because that's what he wanted to work on most of the offseason.
And I know he wants to nail down the slot corner role, but are the Saints almost maybe forcing him to be somebody he's not? Can he still be somebody that if he's just working at outside corner, he can beat Paulson Adebo?
Well, they've mostly been – I think they've kind of settled on that a little bit in the camp. He's gotten some snaps at slot, but –
it hasn't been as many as it was at minicamp and OTAs.
He's mostly been on the outside, either with the first team on A days or the second team on B days. But, yeah, I mean, that's where he's getting most of his snaps. They move him in and out, every now and then. But it kind of looks like, to me, Bradley Roby's the guy at the top of the depth chart at the slot corner. And Hugo Amadi has been getting a lot of the second team reps. So I don't know where Taylor factors into that right now. Maybe they're trying to see him on the outside and he moves inside later on. But he was getting a lot of snaps there during OTAs and minicamp, whereas now it kind of seems like mostly on the outside.
It's interesting to me, though, there's been more situations where there's been 3 linebackers on the field. So there really hasn't been a lot of guys.
They've been installing a lot of base. So we haven't seen a lot of nickel yet, and we're about to hit the point where we're not going to remember ever see, like they give base like a week, and then they move on. So we'll see a lot more nickel, and that's when I think we'll start. And that was kind of the same. I mean, the way OTAs worked was week by week, and we only got to see one practice a week. So maybe the whole first week he wasn't doing a lot of nickel, and he'll start doing a lot more nickel now, to be seen. But yeah, if Adebo is beating him out on the outside, then he's got to turn his attention to winning the slot job instead. But tons of time still to play out in those battles.
We've been talking about favorite camp battles, leading into training camp. I think you had mentioned Chris Olave, Marshon Lattimore is what you're looking for. Now it's Michael Thomas and Marshon Lattimore. That has been the best camp battle for me that I've seen. But, man, Michael Thomas has yet to really get one after Marshon Lattimore, right?
He hasn't caught any on Marshon yet. They've been in team drills, 3 targets. Marshon's won every single one of those reps. A lot of pass breakups there. I think Mike had a good day today. He had 2 catches in team on a Debo. He won 2 or 3 reps in one-on-ones. So the moments where he was winning were good, but there was a pass breakup with Marshon on him. And I think that competitiveness is needed. Last year when we went to Green Bay, one of the things that kind of surprised Mike was just getting back into that full-fledged, just 100% intensity, and he needed to go through that to get ready for week 1. I think Marshon's bringing that right now. My camp MVP to this point is Marshon. He's been absolutely otherworldly. He's been targeted 6 times in coverage and team drills, has only given up 1 catch to Rashid Shaheed. He's had a lot of pass breakups. He's breaking everything down. And I think that's huge for him because the big thing with him early in his career was the practice consistency. It was coming out here, and you would actually see him just kind of BSing his way through practices. I remember Aaron Glenn calling him a crybaby one time because he didn't want to practice and he wasn't playing hard. And now he comes out here and you just see that full throttle intensity. And if Marshon wants to be that Deion Sanders level cornerback, that's what you need. I think this is the 2nd year in a row we've seen it from him coming into the season, but it just feels a little bit different this year. In that battle between those 2 guys, it's just like a heavyweight collision every single time.
Yeah, it's been, I'm sure Mike will get a few of his too, but look, we both named Marshon the number 1 player on the roster when we ranked the roster, and we didn't hesitate. And Marshon has shown up. He showed up. He came for minicamp. He wasn't there for all of OTAs, but then he came for minicamp, showing up right away for this. How can you not have otherworldly confidence in somebody manning one of the most important positions on the field? Mike, one thing I do like about Mike, like you said, he's had highlights. I love the one he scooped off the ground. He had to make a funny body catch. So he's been showing range. And really, his reps were limited yesterday, or we had a day off yesterday. His reps were limited Saturday, the day off before, or right before their first day off. But he's been out here every day. Haven't had to give him a veteran rest day. So I just like how much work he's getting. We wondered if he'd be limited to start camp. Has really not been hardly at all.
And we're going to continue the Michael Thomas conversation coming up after the break, as well as 1v1s. What's going on with Isaiah Foskey? We also heard from Brian Brzee today, and we'll hear from Dennis Allen right after the break.
Now, at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company, get our $10.99 shrimp remoulade combos with zesty shrimp remoulade and fried shrimp or catfish for only $10.99. And did you hear? Soft-shelled crabs are back at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
Life is full of unexpected events, which can come with unplanned expenses. Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union has a variety of personal loan products to meet your needs. Whether it's treating yourself to something new, paying off an unexpected expense, or consolidating debt, we are here to help. With rates as low as 8.5% APR, a personal loan with Jefferson Financial can help. Don't let life's curveball impact your financial happiness. Apply today at jeffersonfinancial.org. Membership restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Welcome back out to Metairie, and somebody who has been absolutely money as of late, especially today, is Michael Thomas. He looked like the Michael Thomas of old. This is our money segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. I don't think Dennis Allen, though, wants to see him back in full speed just yet. He wants him to kind of ramp up back into it, but today there was no stopping Michael Thomas from making every dynamic catch in the book.
Yeah, there's no question Mike only knows one speed, and that's to go 120 miles per hour on every single rep. There are no off reps for him. So if he's out there, he's fighting this life or death, and he's trying to win every single one. I agree. I thought he was outstanding today. We saw some moments, just some of those, physical slants. He caught a curl, had the back shoulder catch in one-on-ones. All those are the Mike Thomas of old. I just think that last little piece is just that little bit of contested catch, against Marshon Lattimore, not allowing those to get broken up, because when Mike was in his prime, he was winning those every single time, and you did not knock a ball away from him. Sometimes it's a little bit surprising to see it, but I do think as he settles in, that competitiveness comes back. He gets used to it. You're going to see him winning those all over again. I like what we're seeing from him to this point. It's been a little bit of a build-up, but I feel like every single day gets a little bit better for him.
I think for him, it's just getting his feet back under him. Don't you think, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I in theory, but he doesn't look like somebody who doesn't have his feet under him. Like I said, I love how much he's participating. I mean, we've seen them give rest days to a bunch of guys. I mean, Ramczyk, that's going to be the routine for him for a long time. Jimmy Graham, they got like scheduled days off. Michael Thomas hasn't had a scheduled day off yet. I think some of that's probably symbolic. He wants to show. He wants to be out there working at it. But I like he's starting from a good point. If he's ramping back up, he's starting halfway up the ramp.
Yeah, we had a chance to ask Dennis Allen, too, about what he's seen so far from Michael Thomas and if they're still trying to control the ramp up.
Yeah, look, I think, here's the thing for Mike. Mike's highly, highly competitive, and he wants to be perfect on every single play. And the reality is we're working back into that. So, I think for him and for his confidence and being able to go out there and make some contested catches and make some plays offensively, I think that was good. Good for us to see, good for him to see, and we'll continue to, ramp him up as we go along.
We've already given you our best and worst moments from camp, but I want to break down kind of the one-on-ones. Was there, outside of Michael Thomas and Marshon Lattimore, or even Paulson Adebo, was there any that stood out to you?
I mean, those were the headliners,
Yeah.
no question about it. I thought they all looked really good. The one guy that stood out maybe the wrong way, Taylor lost 3 of 4, so that was something that you want to see happen a little bit better. I thought Traquan Smith had a couple good reps in the one-on-ones, one of them against Lattimore, and then Lattimore had to get his hamstring or, something stretched out after the play. But Kiki Kuti, there were a handful of guys that I thought looked really good. The star of it, though, like I said before, Derek Carr stood out more than anybody else. Just the way he threw the ball was incredible.
You said Adebo starred in that session.
Oh,
too,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely,
So, I took one for the team today. I was watching 9-on-7. They do them at the same time. I actually thought I was going to see one-on-one pass rush offensive lineman versus defensive lineman. They didn't do that yet today. Dennis Allen explained that it's in the CBA now that ramping up in pads, they have the shorter first 2 practices in pads before they're allowed to go as long as they want. So I think we'll see one-on-ones tomorrow. But so while I'm watching 9-on-7s, I hear the fans oohing and ahhing, like all the exciting plays are the receiver versus the DB. But the one guy, it's hard to tell, especially if you're not reviewing tape, which I'm sure they are now. It's an inside run drill, so and the one time Kendry Miller broke out, it was really noticeable. He's so fast and fluid. But the guy who stood out to me a lot was Carl Granderson. It's a guy that we keep thinking we almost feel like we're rooting to watch somebody step up and beat him because we want to see a young guy develop quickly. But Granderson's had a really good camp, I think. I think we've seen him do a lot pass rushing, and I saw him have some real nice pass rushes. But in that drill, which is all about the run, he was making the left side of that offensive line work in that drill. So he's a guy who stood out to me a couple days in a row now.
Yeah, I want to get into our observation segment, which I want to bring into this show because there's so much, right, that we could talk about and breaking down every little topic. But for me, some of the things that I just kept my eye on was the running back room. Early on, we had kind of see that Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams and Kendry Miller kind of stayed away from each other. But Alvin Kamara has now really been trying to bring Kendry Miller up to speed. Not only does he help him after drills or if you see something, he is diligently, once Alvin Kamara gets through his rep, he's turning around and watching the rookie like a hawk and then is ready and willing to help him right after. Derek Carr was also doing the same thing. One thing that I thought was kind of unique was Derek Carr had pulled Ryan Ramczyk to the side and was looked like he was talking about different movements on the offensive line. I saw Jimmy Graham pull Jameis Winston to the side to make sure that they were on the same page. To me, we are in the refining drills, refining where everybody needs to be at this point. I think it's a good thing that we're 5 days in and we're already seeing that. What are some of the observations you've made so far?
Well, even playing onto that, I saw Derek Carr and Alvin working on some routes a little bit and just kind of going through details. And then Alvin, flashes like the huge smile because he just really liked how Carr was showing him where you could see Carr was showing him where he wanted to place the ball, and Alvin just he loved it, and you saw the grill and all that stuff. So, I like where the team's at as a whole. I'm not a vibe guy, but the vibe around the team is really good right now. So I like that. Look, I I like just everything we're seeing out
Yeah.
here. Like, I really do, and I just think they're going to be a good football team. The thing that I like the most, so that we're seeing, is motion. Like, they're just doing the things that we hammered on last year that was just like, they need to do this. They need to have a plan for that. There's a lot of movement on offense. There have been periods where they're just focused on having creative runs, bringing guys from different areas on the field, figuring out how they're going to do that. How are they going to get the ball in Rashid Shaheed's hands? Well, there's going to be a multitude of jet sweeps and different things with him in motion where they're going to try to get him the ball because he is a dynamic playmaker. And I just like the emphasis on all these things. It was kind of like, here's the check marks, and it's just, okay, everything you guys did think you were seeing last year, we're actually working on those things because they were issues and they're aware of it. So I like where the team's heading. So that's just kind of been my biggest observation so far.
You're not making that up in your mind either. I mean, you asked Dennis Allen about it yesterday, and he said, yes, we are very specifically focusing on widening the field as well. Another thing that has been such a clear focus that Dennis Allen keeps saying over and over again is the competition, but we just keep seeing it play out. I know we always see rotating, but I feel like it's at a new level this year. And even now Malcolm Roach and Colin Saunders are guys, 2 days in a row, Malcolm Roach actually started with the ones. We're seeing it with Nathan Shepard and Brian Brzee switching with the ones almost drill to drill. We've seen it with Curtis Granderson and Peyton Turner. We've seen it with James Hurst and Andrus Peat and Trevor Penning. We've seen it with Calvin Throckmorton and Landon Young and Lewis Kidd playing left guard on one series, right guard on another series, then tackle on another series. It like the ones that blow me away are the ones that are happening like mid-series, 2 snaps and rotate. Hurst is going from guard to tackle, back and forth. I just think they are trying to make, and obviously the kicker and punter battles we've talked about, they are trying to make this a super competitive camp, and I think that leads to the vibe you're talking about.
Lutz, perfect. 8 of 8. I know we are kind of watching that kicker competition closely because it's back and forth, but I don't think Will Lutz has shown us any sign of a drop-off yet.
It kind of feels like the punter battle's a little bit more closely contested right now. I don't know. Groupie's making all of his kicks, too, so I don't want to count him out yet. But, yeah, Lutz has been money, and if he's going to lose this job, someone's going to have to take it from him. He's not given any leeway yet. So, yeah, he's looked good. He's stepped up every single day.
I don't think Will Lutz needed the competition to bring anything out of him, but he like, because it's a competition and we're watching every kick, you notice how fiery Will Lutz is out there. You know, like he's not afraid to celebrate the wins and obviously celebrating with Zach Wood even on social media and showing each other love. You know, that group wants to bounce back from the year they had last year.
What's going on with Isaiah Foskey? Because Brian Brzee does not look like a rookie so far in camp. He is somebody the guys are all talking very highly of, the explosiveness, the speed, the understanding of the game. He was even talking about you had asked him about his swim move. Why is Isaiah Foskey just falling off, really?
It's so hard to say that he is. And I will admit, I've probably watched 5 times as many Brzee snaps as I have Foskey snaps because I'm fascinated to see Brzee. And I'm watching closely when Brzee gets to work with the ones. Foskey hasn't gotten that opportunity yet. You know, on every snap you get to choose almost which player you want to watch on that particular snap. So it's possible that Foskey's had some home runs that we just haven't grabbed our eyes yet. But it's also they've only had 1 day in pads. He is a rookie defensive end. He is playing with the third string for the most part. He hasn't had his chance to shine yet, but I listed him as that was one of the things that I noticed today because I decided to watch him for 4 or 5 snaps. But that's such a small sample size in a very large camp. So it's tough to say yet. I mean, maybe everything's going swimmingly for him. Actually, I have not talked to him yet in camp and look forward to doing so to find out where he thinks he's at.
I think it's the way it's supposed to be, though. He's supposed to be the more polished guy with all the talent, all the upside. He was kind of held back in college due to all kinds of off-field stuff, and that stuff hadn't happened. I think that he probably would have been, picked a lot higher than he was. Foskey was the freak athlete who won with athleticism, didn't have a lot of polish to his game. You watch him play, it's a lot of speed wins, not necessarily technique wins. I don't think you're going to win that way necessarily in the pros all the time, so he's got to tighten that up a little bit, and I think we'll see that happen over time.
Yeah, it's only day 5. We'll be back out at practice for practice number 6 tomorrow as Saints training camp continues, and we'll see you guys next time.